Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Zmore the Dad in DPS, and we're once again back with another episode of the Good, the Scrap, and the Scrip series where I find weapons in Appalachia and test them out. So, today's weapon is, should be an interesting one. But before we get into it, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And there's the coffee link and the join button down below. Let's get on with it. Welcome to the Alright finale. Is that right? That's what it says. Okay. So today's weapon is a Executioner's Bullets Explode for Area Damage, VATS Crit, 10mm SMG. Now, I've been overly critical and harsh on these weapons in the past, and I feel like I've learned how to use it a bit better now. On top of that, it's actually not that bad a gun. At the same time, it has a lot of things that could make it better, and whether we ever get them and it gets balanced in a way that makes it better, we'll never really know until it happens. Either way, I'm curious to see how well we can use it and if it does what I expect it to do, which should be interesting to say the least. Now, a lesson I've learned from the last time I've used this weapon is that it is not very VATS friendly. You kind of want to use this gun outside of VATS and just manually aim the crap out of it. And when you do that, it does decent damage, don't get me wrong. I feel like the 10mm pistol gets more bang for its buck in terms of bullets because it is very good at the obvious killing things very quickly with headshots kind of motif. This one, it's because it has to be manually aimed, it requires me to not be an absolute potato. And when I'm not, great. You get some pretty decent damage out of it and you kill enemies relatively quickly. But if you are me, with my potato aim, that is not always the case. And sometimes I don't quite get those enemies down as quickly as I would have done if I was able to get them with VATS. That is my problem, that is not a problem all of you will go with, but you're seeing it's doing relatively decent damage on the average kind of enemy and killing them quick enough that we can, survive relatively easily. So I definitely think that I was overly harsh on it last time I used it. Not kind of understanding the best way to use the weapon. And not to say that I understand that now in comparison, but you're seeing like legendary things just dropping like sacks of turds. It's a decent little gun. And Executioner is a relatively good effect. I mean, the main kind of purpose I think this effect has is for bigger targets like Earl and the Queen. You're going to get that real big damage boost from them. And that's another thing to take into consideration. This weapon is not getting additional damage on enemies until we hit that 40% health. So against these ghouls, it's really not showing its best qualities, but at the same time, it is doing what it needs to do. And then once you do get past that point, help if I didn't miss, once you get past that point, it shreds. It really does. So I'm overall impressed so far. So once again, we're with the build. Now this one is obviously not optimised for this weapon specifically, mainly because it is once again my full health build and she is not in a position where I can swap too much stuff around. I don't have a lot of spare and excess levels to play with, and I don't have all the legendary perks maxed out that I need. But overall, I felt it was just a decent little weapon to try on her, and I know you guys like seeing full health builds as well as my bloodied builds. Either way, you can see what I'm using and why the damage is what it is. And with that, we approach the Jeffus Maximus in the swampy swamp. I'm going to give him a little second to get his fat ass out of bed, just so that you guys can see the full extent of this weapon. The kind of problem with Jeff is that, obviously, he's just kind of buggy when it comes to health. And luckily, you kind of get a better idea of how the damage changes with this weapon on him. Now, as you're seeing, we're getting bigger chunks of damage. It would help if he didn't do crap like that, where he seemed to throw a rock out of his armpit. But let's... Oh, Christ. He seems to be bugging out. Let's go for his head with that, just to show you. And as you're seeing, quite a chunk of damage. The gun itself does very consistent and good damage. I just wish Jeff wasn't such a buggy sack of shit. And it's Queenie time. Now, we'll definitely see how this goes. I'm not too keen on fighting her with this weapon, but we'll definitely see how it is. I hear a Mirelurk King nearby, which is never a good thing. Here we go. Queenie! Let's just lay into her and see what we can do. Unfortunately, oh Jesus Christ, there is something legendary down there, and she's spewing acid at me already. However, we've managed to get her down, which means I'm going to be able to deviate my attention to these little shits that are chasing me down. And this is kind of the problem with this gun, is if you're mobbed against certain enemies, you're going to struggle a little bit more than others, but at the same time, I feel like I'm doing this fairly well. The enemies are not that capable of dealing with this gun, and when you hit that 40% health threshold, they drop very quickly. Don't get me wrong, it gets broken equally quickly because of being explosive, having quite a good fire rate and all that other usual dribble. But at the same time, you are getting some decent hits in. Now, I apologise for me being a wee bit daft with this, but you're seeing, like, I'm getting beaten on by these two enemies, and they are relatively decent high level, and I'm not struggling. I'm not in the best position because I had to change weapon out, but you're, oh Jesus, and then that happens. But you're seeing that this weapon is not bad. It's just a case of poorly optimized build. And I say poorly optimized, I mean it's just not ready yet. But I do like showing you guys what full health can do. And you can cripple the Mirelurk Queen relatively quickly, relatively easily. And if I wanted to do my regular testing, I could have shown you just me wailing on her with no backup. This is, I suppose, the best way to show you. It doesn't kill the Queen quickly. Very few weapons really do. It's a heavily armoured target, and this is a very small ballistic weapon. But as we get close to that golden number, the 40%, you see the damage start racking up, and it starts going really quickly. And that's the benefit of this weapon. It's obviously not the weapon on big targets that you should use right off the bat. You should switch to it rather than just use it. And I feel it illustrates the point a bit better when I do it in this kind of manner, because obviously a lot of people just can't be bothered switching weapons. But that's the benefit of executioners. You can switch to it and deal a hell of a lot of damage. So it's definitely a slept on effect. So the question always comes to daily ops. Now, with this weapon, I feel like you're not going to be getting your ammo back from daily ops in the same consistent way as you would with certain other weapons. And the problem I've got is, like, the build I'm on, it's just not great on robot days. I mean, these guys shred me. I'm not currently using Ricochet because I just don't have it yet. It was saved for other things. And these guys are shredding my character. And that is the problem. But you're seeing I'm actually, for the most part, standing my ground. And when you look at the ammo you're getting back, you're getting a decent amount back. I'm like just losing a small amount of ammo per robot. Now if they'd group up and I had other people in the actual fight, I probably wouldn't be losing ammo. I would be making it back. I'm almost certain of it. And in some cases, I'm getting close to making it back. But this is the problem. I'm Oh, there we go. My armor kicked in. I'm just not capable of doing the damage that I need to with this weapon on kind of average, because it doesn't get the benefit of its damage being buffed constantly, and on top of that, it also has the downside of just basically being an explosive normal weapon for the most part, until the enemies are low in health, and then they drop like a big sack of turds. Either way, I think it's a decent weapon, and I definitely think that it deserves a lot more attention, and I will be using it in quite a lot of boss fights in the future for definite. I'm actually quite happy with Executioners as an ability. And with that, we have tonight's video. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. You can support the channel with my Ko-fi link down below and the join button to become a YouTube member. And let's thank our members, which are Goldie, Wyatt Blackburn, Wallers, me, Dealfin Gaming, Colin G, Brian RMC, Peggy Midnight, Matazbo, Devilman Games, Marcus Carrasco, Scott S, Bubba Doodle Mom, Ranger Mix Brudel, and Anxiety Rangers. A big thanks to all of you. Your support is infinitely appreciated. So yeah, this weapon, I honestly think it is a very good weapon. It did the job that it needed to do, and on basic enemies you are going to rinse them very clearly and easily. On bigger enemies, I don't think you should be using it until they drop below that 40% margin, and then you're able to rinse them even more. Against things like Errol and the Scorch Beast Queen, it is definitely going to do damage. Don't get me wrong, you're going to go through a lot of ammo, but the ammo is not difficult to come by when it comes to it. You can pretty much get an endless supply of this if you have a Crusader pistol and just use that to farm daily ops or craft it. I mean, it's quite cheap to craft as well, so overall, yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I think it has a place in the game, and it's just about how you use it. It's not an all-time weapon, it's a situational and specific weapon, but in the situation it does well. Either way, we'll catch you all next time in the Wasteland.